Made with a hand-cranked clockwork camera that could only shoot for 20 odd seconds at a time, and using 16mm black and white film stock that he would shoot without synchronised sound and hand process himself, Mark Jenkin boldly announced his presence as a filmmaker to take notice of, with his 2015 mid-length feature Bronco's House, a 44-minute nightmarish work of kitchen sink drama and Lynchian weirdness. Whilst this was by no means a debut for the Cornish filmmaker, who had been making films for nearly 2 decades prior in the digital medium, this clearly marked a fresh new chapter in his filmography. Telling a story that spits with rage at the Cornish housing crisis, Bronco's House is an interesting work told in a fascinating way that manages to weave humour and empathy into its deadpan post-dub dialogue, and its visual style and fractured editing are nostalgic and fresh at the same time.
You been clamped?
I think so, yeah.
Who done that?
Who do you think?
Pricks.
You own the bloody street.
You can't just park there all day. It's fine you picking stuff up and dropping stuff
I work
off.
in the harbour. I'm a bloody fisherman.
Are you? Where's your boat?
4 years and several short experiments later, Jenkin uses the exact same filmmaking process to deliver Bait, a feature-length work which, at 89 minutes, is double Bronco's length. It's a mind-boggling feat to create a feature film in such a way, but for this film, an experimentally structured kitchen sink tinged drama about the clash of modernity and tradition in a Cornish fishing village, it was the perfect medium to tell the story. Whilst the subject of gentrification is at the heart of what the film is about on a thematic level, summarising Bait in such a way is still somewhat doing the film a disservice. It really is a film that defies any sort of category. The form and visual style of the film might give the impression that it's going to be too artsy or experimental for the casual moviegoer, particularly when compared to the haunting surreal Lynchian vibes and deadpan delivery of Bronco's House, and the subject matter might not seem all that appealing to someone who likes their films a bit weirder and wilder, but the delicate balance of form contrasted with subject, which was perhaps swayed a little too far into the artsy camp with Bronco, really is spot on here. Jenkin's DIY attitude and ability to callously revel in the artifice of cinema, rather than trying to hide it, is ever so refreshing to watch here, in an era of clean and crisp high-definition movie-going experiences. Jenkin hand-processed every 16mm reel of film himself in his Newlyn studio. As such, the film's look is rugged and imperfect, capturing fibres, fingerprints and natural spores onto the frame. He states in various interviews that a lot of this look wasn't initially intentional, and was purely a byproduct of not processing the film in the same clinical manner as that of a film lab. I personally love this though. It makes the film such a unique experience and gives it such an earthy feel, which goes brilliantly with the captured essence and textures of the film's Cornish fishing village setting, giving the shots of sand, dirt, waves, faces, crabs, seagulls, fish and pints of beer a sense of urgency, vitality and gravitas to them. Whilst on a first watch it does take a little while to get into the rhythm of the film's medium-imposed restrictions of the 20-odd second maximum shot length that force some creative choices on Bates' editing style, with its frequent cutaways to snippets which serve as brief crosscuts, flashbacks and flash-forwards inserted in the middle of some sequences, which were initially confusing near the start, it never becomes too obtuse in its style as to override the narrative focus. I really appreciated the subtle playfulness of the editing thanks to these choices. Frequent critical comparisons have been made to Nick Rogue, which is exactly how I felt when I started to settle into the film. There's definite shades of Rogue's obsession with fracturing time and space in films like Walkabout, Bad Timing, Track 29 and Don't Look Now that are present here, but in a way that feels fresh and unique. The way that some of the cutaways to still snippets of details of inanimate objects are used between or even within some shots remind me very fondly of their same zen-like usage in the works of classic Japanese director Yasujiro Ozu. The character interactions and dialogue exchanges feel both natural and unnatural in a vaguely dreamlike kind of way. There's also a surprising amount of humour present in the writing. The two brothers' discussion of the modernisation of their father's old cottage is a definite standout piece of dialogue, thanks to its comedic timing and poignancy, with their bewilderment at the phony cultural appropriation within interior design choices that outsiders mistake for authentic and neat.
Been modernised. All bloody ropes and chains, though, you know, look a bit like a sex dungeon.
Whether it was 100% intentional or not, there is something extremely magical that resonates with the contemporary setting of Bait as a 2019 film that, with all its scratches and light bleeds on the film stock, looks like it could have been captured in 1919. Coupled with using the narrative form of British kitchen sink realism, along with an editing style reminiscent of British and European New Wave films, both things that are firmly rooted in the late 60s and early 70s, a time period that's slap bang in the middle of this 100-year gulf. It speaks to me with a duality of something like a love letter to the ingenuity of cinema, and a waning reminder of both the timelessness and fragility rooted in culture, tradition and heritage. Unlike Bronco's house, which rightly feels angry and has a clear message about the problems that developmental greed, second home ownership and holiday lets are having on the housing crisis in Cornwall for the Cornish, Bait's issues have more complex roots that can be viewed from different angles. As such, Bait doesn't fall into the trap of alienating its audience by picking a side or showing that the answer to a question is black and white, thereby condemning change and outside influence or the preservation of old ways above all else. But instead, like the film's distinctive visual look itself, it floats and dances in the grey areas, allowing the viewer to bring and take away what they will, and acting as an effective springboard for its viewers to discuss the issues and imbalances of tourism and industry that are still prevalent in Cornwall. Personally, I think this is one of the best and most important British films of the 21st century thus far, and perhaps one of the greatest films to have come out of my home county. I eagerly look forward to anything that the director puts out in the future.
Losing your temper isn't going to help.
I haven't lost my temper yet. Your old man wouldn't have shut the pub in the winter.
Get out!
Talking about fishing, not fucking hospitality. I'm just trying to earn a living, you know.
So are we. You didn't have to sell us this house.
Didn't we?